Kunene. Okay, I'll go. Maybe I'm older. I'm Mathabo Kunene. I was born in Cape Town and raised in South Africa. And I'm married to Professor Mazisi Kunene, the poet laureate, whom I met in London. But I come from a family of feminist activists because the first school that I went to, I always brag about this picture. This is me here in a school that was started by my mother during apartheid, where there were no schools in Nyanga, and my mother started this school. But because of male chauvinism, the person who looks like a principal here is my father, but you know the person who started it. But the way he's posing it, you could think he started the school, but that's okay. So it was a two-teacher school. So I've always had that ingenuity in me to be involved, to know who I am, to know the role of women. So I'm going to leave it there right now, and I'm going to let Ella introduce herself.
Okay. So I was born in Anda at the Phoenix settlement, and like Kunene has spoken, Mathabo has spoken, I also had two very strong women in my life. My grandmother, who seldom you don't even know her name, Kasturba Gandhi, because completely overshadowed by Mahatma Gandhi. So recently we've been putting up her story, which is a very important story. And my mom, who also started a school in Anda, and it was a mixed school where all children of all races came and studied together. But unfortunately, due to the apartheid system, she had to close it down. And so that's my story.
I feel almost a degree of pressure here, peer pressure, as it were. I think I'm also bound to start a school.
Feel free. Actually, this is your
Education.
time. This is the right time for you to think about it because we need to grab back the narrative of the role of women,
Yes.
particularly now that children are spending more time at home with the mothers
Yes.
during this pandemic. But we should know what they're teaching our children. We need to understand the emotions of always having women as second thought. I mean, I was just looking around and thinking, how many statues are there in South Africa of the same, the same, the same? I mean, these are multi-million rand structures,
Yes.
and yet we haven't even started to put up a statue of women of great importance in our lives. So, Kona lapho nje, you can just see anywhere in the world,
Yes.
there's always beautiful, huge, massive statues towering into the sky, and that's a man. And yet there were women like Queen Zinga of Angola, who actually led the armies against the Portuguese. But at least there's a statue there in Angola.
Definitely.
Give it
Definitely.
to them.
I wonder
Yeah.
though,
Or
so sorry to cut you there.
mhm.
I'm latching on to the point you're mentioning about these various statues of males who by all looks of things were supported by women to even become as eminent as they were. I wonder if the absence of fierce women leaders in public discourse has led to the exacerbation of the pandemic called gender-based violence.
Ella.
Well, I think that gender-based violence has been with us for many centuries, and right from the early beginning, actually, because of the fact that the way people have constructed roles. Roles are the most, notorious gender-based violence. Who said that this is what women should do and this is what men should do? In fact, if we look at our lives, everything should be done jointly.
Definitely.
by men and women. Bringing up children is a joint responsibility. Taking care of the household, taking care of people is a joint responsibility. And the day community realizes that this is a joint responsibility, things will be different. That gender based violence will no longer remain because then we won't be exploiting. Creation of roles is also a means to exploit.
Hmm.
So you give certain menial jobs to certain people and then exploit them. So, I read a story about a person, a young man who wrote about his mother and said that his mom was always, his father used to always say, well, my wife does nothing.
Wow.
She's just a housewife. And he then looked at all the things that she used to do. And he drew a picture of all the things that his mother did during the course of the day and showed that this is what my mother does. Do you think that she's doing nothing? And that picture is now on the cover of a book. So it's a story about a real person who looked at this.
Hmm.
It's
I
quite
think my
interesting.
greatest concern
Mhm.
is giving this kind of criminality a name and a birth certificate and everything that now it's called gender-based violence. Now we're done, we're finished. Once this thing has a name and is dignified, it's a crime. Why don't we treat it as a crime?
There's
Finished.
funding for it
No,
now.
that's all. And because it's not getting any better. In fact, since it's even attained the name and and whatever it is and a birth certificate, it's gotten worse. In fact, on Women's Month, it's the worst month of violence against women. It's
Hmm.
a crime. Let's just treat it like that. Finish. So
Definitely.
I just wanted to respond to that part only.
No problem. Juxtapose our current challenges in South Africa, by extension, Africa too, and share your perspective on what you feel a gender balanced society could produce.
Well, I think that if women are actively involved in all aspects of society, right from early beginnings right to the end, if they are involved in everything, things would look completely different in my view, because you will have the gender perspective, you will have both sides, of the story, so that what are the needs of the people,
Mm.
those needs will be looked at. And just a simple example, if you had money and you had to prioritize what you're going to do with that money, rich people would look at, a man would look at building golf courses.
Yes.
A woman would look at providing water and electricity in the homes.
Mm.
So those are the kinds of choices that we make. And so when the men and women are together, choices will be different and things would look different.
Mm. But if we leave everything to the politicians, nothing will ever change. There's a huge percentage of Black women involved in the government today, and they're given portfolios that are responsible for the communities. But who decides that the family can get 350 rand?
Mm.
Where were the women? They're supposed to be at the table. They're
Yes.
supposed to be, oh, no, 350 will only get you a bag of rice and a mealie meal. But where are they? But if we leave it to them to decide our fate and the fate of our children in the future and say, no, there are women at the table, it's a story of hurry up and wait.
Mm. Mm.
We can see now the strategic movement of the United States Democratic Party that said, we're picking a woman. That woman is a breath away from actually becoming the first president of the United States. They've tried all kinds of things, but they've never gotten a woman so close to being the first president of the, but it's a determination of the political party. Are they willing to do that? Are we as voters saying something? Because if we're just putting a cross and walking away, things will never change.
That's so true. And
Yeah.
you may continue.
No, I'm just saying that the burden now on us as women and who care, we're overwhelmed because now we have to do this black tax patch up wherever when the government has failed completely. Because I don't understand if we go out and have a huge, what do you call it, a huge loan of billions of US dollars, and yet people are lined out outside the post office every day waiting for 350. There is a problem.
Yes.
And unless we use our muscle as women voters, because we are in the majority, we should use our vote. This is all we have.
Definitely. And I see an immediate danger where South Africa as a welfare state will soon run out of resources, as well as the dependency culture is going to edge so close to government such that there's going to be civil unrest owing to what's currently happening in parliament. But a question that I want to quickly zoom in here is, why, in your perspective, do you feel that the SA government has not prioritized a focused approach toward qualitative empowerment of all sectors of society without paying any regard to empowering women on certain date or certain months and leaving the boy child outside sometimes? Why do you feel there isn't a clear policy mandate from government directed towards its citizens?
Ella, for me, Ella, you take it.
Sorry. I think, what the world is suffering at the moment is the self-centeredness of people.
Yes.
People are looking at what is good for me. What can I gain from this? And they are not looking at what can I do
Yes.
to raise the bar for my people, for the community, and so on. That idea, that Ubuntu sentiment is fast dying all over the world. It's not just in our country, it's everywhere. And until our people begin to realize that we have to build that compassion, that caring, and understanding of our community, and selflessness from saying mine, I, to we, to ours,
Yes.
change the vocabulary, and that is when the change will come.
Definitely.
It's
Mama Mathabo?
Somebody wants to call? No, I just want to say that I grew up during apartheid, and you can tell I'm 81 years of age. I grew up in a township. I don't know poverty. I've never seen poverty in our home because our parents were never promised anything. They worked day and night. They made means. If there was no school, they started a school. If there was not enough to eat, my father would do this and do that. I don't know poverty. And I know many of our neighbors did work very hard at keeping their children um, fed and everything. So I just think that there's something, it's almost like when the colonialists arrived and there were all these absolutely militant women, whether it was Nzinga, whether it was Santua, fighting to protect the gold in the Gold Coast. And then Christianity came. They're like, okay, be kind, be kind, be kind, pray, put your arms down. and forget your language, forget your own who you are. I think that the present situation where we thought we were going to get our liberation, there's a hurry up and wait, let's be calm. And there's a town like that, it's all kumbaya, we're going to be okay. But it's not going to be okay. And that's why the Black Lives Matter came up. They said, wait a minute, we do matter. And having lived in the United States for 21 years, we marched with them. They marched with us, and they have achieved what is it now, the attention. And I think that now with the incoming government, I'm listening and I'm watching. They are so clear that they're going to, there's a talk called equity. Equity, there should be equity in dealing with all communities. And we need that. I mean, in South Africa, the banks have their knees on our necks. That's the truth. And it doesn't matter how hard a woman works, but the banks are sitting and in collusion with whoever I don't know. You can go to the bank and talk to the bank and you can have millions and millions of property as collateral. They will tell you, I had a big blowout with another bank yesterday. And he keeps on saying, but there's the credit rule. I said, so where was it? Where on the trillions were getting lost? You only can say that to an ordinary woman like me who actually has equity and talk about empowerment. When I arrived in South Africa, I was full of vigor. I started the biggest investment group of women called Akona Trade and Investment with millions here in South Africa. Clean, clear, Stockwell based, and it ran until, of course, there was some intervention, messing around, and I let that go. And then I started another one, and it grew into the millions, powerful, without intervention, because in me, I just know I can do it, and I don't have to be corrupt, and I don't have to be liked by anybody. So I'm just saying that if every woman makes it out that this is the time, there's no second chance. This is the chance that we have now. And I think as a woman, as a mother, and as a community, this is what we should be teaching. Should be in our curriculum. I don't know what we are learning. It should be in our curriculum that there's a woman, young woman who was an astronaut. I mean, think about it. She was in her 30s. Those are the things that we need in our curriculum. And that's for me, but we have no say really in the curriculum. I don't think so.
Why do you feel that the trend geared toward the pro-male governments seems to be the socially acceptable norm, or rather is a predisposition that humanity seems to gravitate towards? I'm linking this toward a time in 2017 where almost every other person in South Africa was hyped up by the prospect of Dokotela Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma being the first woman president. But as you would have it, things crumbled before long, and then male chauvinism came up once more.
I don't know, the politics. I don't know. Those who were there in those meetings and things, there was something that wasn't as clear as we would have loved it. There's something, I don't know. All I do, I exercise my right and I vote and I don't know and let the chips fall where they may, but somebody knows that there was something that was not going right. And so we're caught in this free for all, and we do not have the power, because if we had the power to elect a president, like Mr. J. Trump is out because 86 million South Americans said out, we don't have that kind of government. We don't have that kind of power. If today they decide it's going to be you, then so what? Maybe tomorrow, maybe it's a woman, and the women then all go and follow the vote. I just think that we need a different set of circumstances We need a different way of governing our country. And I'm not sure that this kind of democracy that is atypical, it's actually, I don't know where it is a patchwork with this and that. I don't know where it comes from, and I don't know what it stands for real, because we have the burden of every day. If I can just show you my cell phone every day, please makhulu ngicela 20 rand, please makhulu ngicela 300 rand. What is that for?
Mm, mm. When does Makulu get to sit down and enjoy her hard-earned money?
No, because
I
then, because now we have to be running to the village and starting changing. I mean, where have you seen in this year 2010, 2011, a high school with a 33% pass rate? And my son said, don't say it's a pass rate, say it's a 70% fail rate. So
Yes.
we got in there, we took our gloves off, and we've been engaged with that at that school, KwaDluzi Ngcondo, pride of our lives, because we got involved, and the young people want to learn. They just want people who are dedicated to them. So the school has turned around, and we have in the high 80s, they have a science lab. We have students who are right now who have graduated, they're doing their masters in mechanical engineering. We met them in grade 8. It can be done. It's possible. It is possible, but why should we, as the citizens, with so much money budgeted for all these things, why should we bear the burden of having to do the things that the government is supposed to be doing?
Mm.
Don't blame it on women. Women are smart, but women has their hands. You know, I saw the woman on the Zondo Commission this week. I just couldn't believe it. I'll always vote. If it's 51 billion and my party says let's vote, I'll vote. Where's her conscience? Where's her motherhood? You know, and so we're doomed for now.
For now, for purposes of time, please forgive me for cutting our conversation, but Mama Ella, please just share in your perspective what has allowed you to remain relevant, surviving apartheid, surviving the so-called democratic epoch, democracy in South Africa, and now still being relevant and still being able to share. You'll also close with the same remarks, Mama Kunene.
I think, the most important thing is to have a passion for what you want to do.
Mm.
And my passion is to bring about change. I want to see change. And change means a lot of things. Change doesn't only mean putting people in power or putting people in positions, but a change in mindset where people begin to accept. And that change in mindset makes a very big difference to everyone, because then you are supporting people. When we put a person into a position, that person needs a whole lot of support. And if we leave them there without the support, they are bound to fall. And that is what we are seeing at the moment. So what I'm saying is that that change means that there has to be that kind of social support and social, mindsets where people are powerful and will say, this is what we need and this is what we put you there to do for us, not just putting people into power. So that is what my passion is, and I think that that's what keeps me going.
Definitely. Thank you so
I
much.
hope
Mama
to
Kunene, your
see
closing
my
remark?
Closing remarks is, social media. Stop burning. Stop burning the things that we already have. It's not doing any good at all. Just go and vote. Just vote. Your life will change. And putting people in power, I don't remember putting anybody in power here, because you make one X and then suddenly you're controlled by department of so and so and so and so, so and so, so and so. We do not really have power. But I think what I can say is accountability for those people who are using taxpayer money and, like zooming around here in fancy cars because ngiyikhansela ngiyinto enjani ngenjani. There's no, who are they accountable to? If they are only accountable to their party. So for me, I'm here and I'm committed to what I'm doing. And right now, my call to arms, asambeni siyohlakula, umhlaba ukhona, akekho umuntu omnyama ongenayo a patch of ground. Even if you grow 1 dozen spinach a day, we cannot be out there with a basket. I say, smash that begging bowl. Asambeni siyolima. Thank you.
Definitely wise words from two stalwarts whom I've come to respect and always hold in high esteem. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to share with our audiences the wonderful pearls of wisdom you have, but most importantly for reminding us of the hope that exists within each and every one of us. I'm going to play you out with a song by Ladysmith Black Mambazo, and it's called Diamonds on the Soles of Her Feet, because that's what you have. Thank you so much. Enjoy your evening. Take care.